In this video, I explain how to write the paper. I provided this template. This template is an outline of the paper. It gives the key structures, the key components or elements of the paper. You have the title page, the title, you have the introduction section, the methods section, results, discussions, references. You want to write out each component, the details of each part. As always, before you start writing, you want to put together all the materials, all the writing materials. You have the references, 3 references, and you have the writing instructions, and you have the data. I have opened, I've opened everything except the data. I'll open the data file just to get ready. The writing instructions, the reference materials. Now I'm ready to write the paper. The title can always be improved. This is my temporary title. Symptom profiles of individuals at risk for interpersonal and intrapersonal negative outcomes. And I'm talking about suicide and interpersonal conflict. Interpersonal means between people. My hostility is directed against other people. Intrapersonal is interest within. My hostility or my distress is directed to myself. It's within me. Screening in the workplace using SCL 90. I might change this title as I write the paper. This is an APA writing style. Introduction. Well, the first part of your paper is the introduction, it's the intro. Sometimes we call it an overview of the paper, but in the APA style, we don't use the word introduction. We use the title as a de facto introduction. What do we write in the introduction? We write a thesis statement. We explain the research issue, we explain the theory being tested, and we explain the hypothesis. I have some placeholders for you, and these are some statements you can serve as you can use as a placeholders, and they demonstrate the type of content you need to write in this place. In the introduction, at the beginning, I make an opening statement. This paper investigates whether people at risk for different negative behavioral outcomes, such as suicide attempt and interpersonal conflict, show different symptom profiles. Do they show different symptoms? Do people who have experienced like suicide attempts show different symptoms from people who have experienced interpersonal conflict? I believe they do, but that's an empirical question. I'm interested in whether these differences can be detected in screening. Can we screen the people and detect their different symptoms related with suicide versus interpersonal conflict? and I'm not talking about non-clinical population. These people are not in the clinic. These people are not in the health promotion settings or treatment settings. They're in the workplace. They are, or maybe in school. Many people who struggle with psychological difficulties, they go to work. They continue to go to work and go to school. I will have to elaborate this part here. Edward, elaborate. Give a thorough explanation and elaboration on this point. I'm also showing how to cite the references. APA style citation. This format is called a narrative citation. Narrative citation, and in your narrative, you cite the source this way. This is a textbook. The textbook psychopathology we are using for the course. This is the author of the textbook. Rather, this is the editor. I think the textbook is an edited book. Dozois, 2023, explained that there are different types of assessment, including clinical interviews, self-report, inventories, etc. And this is another way to cite the source. You put the source in a parenthesis. Different instruments focus on different areas functioning and dysfunctions. For example, the bag depression inventory, they focus on symptoms of depression, but the Hamilton anxiety inventory, it focuses on anxiety symptoms. And you want to explain why screening is important. Screening is important. Why? Because in the clinical setting, in clinics or in treatment settings, we need to do that for triage. Separate the keywords a little bit. Triage in that means we need to identify for people who are at high risk. When people show up for treatment, some of them are at risk. Elevated risk for suicide. Suicide is one kind of risk. Also, interpersonal conflict, harming others, being aggressive to other people is also another type of risk. People who are high risk, they get priority. They get treatment first because their situation is more dangerous. In clinical settings, we do screening for triage, but in non-clinical settings, we need to identify people who are at risk for outreach. Outreach in non-settings. For example, in the workplace, if we identify those employees who are at greater risk for suicide, for depression, for interpersonal conflict, we can reach out and we can offer them some help. Maybe we can refer them to professionals to get help. Screening is important. You talk about that. And then I have this level 2 headings. This is a level 1 heading. Introduction is a level 1 heading. Methods is a level 1 heading. Results, level 1 heading. Discussions, level 1 heading. References, level 1 heading. Under each level 1 heading, you can have subheadings, level 2 headings, depending on the content of your discussion. In my introduction, I have several points to discuss. One point I want to discuss is the instrument. The SCL-90 symptom checklist 90 as a screening tool. So I give it one heading. I make one level 2 heading for the instrument. In this section, I want to discuss the instrument, the scale, the questionnaire. In APA style, this is how you write a level 2 heading. It's flush to the left, and then you have this this like a title capitalization. Certain letters are capitalized. These letters are capitalized. It's also in bold. Second level heading, bold print. In this section, under this second level, level 2 heading, I talk about the scale. I talk about the SCL-90, and now you need to refer to the article. Where's my SCL-90 article? This article is posted in the eLearn course portal. Here, this article explains the SCL-90. This is an article where the questionnaire was first published in 1967, I believe. The author of the questionnaire, Dr. Derogatis, he explained how the questionnaire was developed, what it was supposed to measure, and how you're supposed to use it. Really important part of it is that you get the 90 items. What are the 90 items? Headaches, nervousness. Here, number 13. Feeling afraid in open spaces or on the streets. You get all these items. And the author explained that while the items fall into some categories, according to the author, the items cover 9 categories. One category is somatic symptoms, especially body symptoms, sleep, disturbances, aches and pains, soreness, muscle tension. Another category was obsessive compulsive symptoms, interpersonal sensitivity, depression, anxiety, hostility, phobia. Also, some symptoms are related to schizophrenia, paranoid thinking, psychoticism, hallucinations, delusions. You want to explain the content of the questionnaire and how the questionnaire is used. All the references are related to this point. All the references refer to SCL-90. For example, in the article by me, I explain the SCL-90. You can refer to that too. You should refer to that. You should refer to this article. In this article, I explain the scale. For each item, respondents read each of the 90 items over the last week on a 5-point scale. The scale in this article is 1 to 5. 1 is not at all. 5 is extremely serious. 2 is a little bit. 3 is quite a bit. And 4 is a lot. 5 is extremely serious. In my article, I also explained the summary scores, global indices. These are like composite scores, summary scores. One global index is the global severity index. This is the mean score on the 90 items. You take the average of the 90 items of each participant, you get this index. You also have the positive symptom total. This is a count, the number of items scored above 1. How many items does this person score above 1? 1 is not at all, none. And the 2 is a little bit. Any item rated 2 or more is counted as positive. There's also the positive symptom distress index. This is the average score on the items scored above 1, the average of positive items. While explaining the SL90 is an important part of the intro. After that, I'm going to talk about using SL90 as a screening tool. I'm going to talk about using SL90 to screen people in the clinical population, in clinical settings, and using the same instrument for screening in the workplace. This is a non-clinical situation. After that, I'm going to provide an overview of the study. Here, these are the level 2 headings. Level 2 headings tells you how many parts do you have for this intersection. What are the key contents in the intersection? For screening in the clinical population, you need to refer to the Curto article. Curto, this is an Italian author. She used the SL90, the revised version of SL90, to screen patients in a psychiatric hospital or clinic. Here the full paper. You need to read and understand the full paper and summarize it and explain why is it relevant to this research. I explain what happens in the research. The rationale of this research is triage. You want to identify people who are at high risk and give them priority. They also explain the SL90, the revised version. The revised version is no different from the unrevised version. It's the same. Not much difference. What happened in this study without the author's work at a clinic. The clinic receives people who seek help for psychiatric difficulties, and they give these people treatment, counseling, medical treatment. Over a period of time, they received like 800 people. During this time, some of these people experienced adverse outcomes. Adverse outcomes will include suicide and hospitalization. Some of them attempted suicide, and some of them had to be hospitalized. These people are at high risk. They need to be treated first. They need to be given priority in seeing the doctors. The researchers found that this high-risk group, they differ from the lower risk group or the other people, the people without adverse outcomes, on 6 items. Item 15, thought of ending your life. Item 88, never feeling close to another person. Number 41, feeling inferior to others. 78, feeling so restless you couldn't sit still. Trouble concentrating, feeling tense or keyed up. These items differentiate the people with adverse outcome and without adverse outcome. People with adverse outcome had higher scores than those who don't have adverse outcomes. This number, the mean 1.19, and this number 1.30, that's a standard deviation. We don't need to worry about the standard deviation. We just need to look at the means. For people who don't have adverse outcomes, the mean, the average was 0.46, and the ratio was 2.59. That means the people with adverse outcomes are 2.59 times as high on this item as those who don't have adverse outcomes. They differ a lot. They differ a great deal. These 6 items really separate people who have attempted suicide or hospitalization and those who don't. After you write the section on screening in the clinical population using SAL90, you are ready to write the section about screening in the workplace using the same instrument. For this part, you will need to refer to the Lee et al. 1915 paper. On the screen, I'm writing a little bit of the paper. This is not all you need for the sections. This is a small part of the sections you will need. What I wrote here on the screen was a demonstration. It demonstrates how you cite the sources, the in-text citation, the different ways to use in-text citation. You can use the parentheses, you can use a narrative citation style. The Lee paper provides a lot of information relevant to this writing assignment. The data used for the writing assignment come from this study 1 of the paper. The paper reports 2 studies, studies 1 and 2, and the study 1 is the source of the data for this writing assignment. The writing assignment uses part of the data collected in study 1 of the paper and analyze the data. In this part of the writing, you need to provide an overview, a summary of study 1 in the Lee et al. Paper. You want to talk about the rationale, why they were collecting data, and you want to give an outline of the methods, how the data were collected. You want to mention the sample, 1,506 expatriates. Who are they? You want to mention most of them are women. You want to find the information in the paper. You want to talk about the instruments. You want to mention that all people in the sample completed 2 questionnaires. The main questionnaire was the symptom checklist 90, Chinese version of the instrument, SL 90. All participants also complete the personal information questionnaire. These are the demographic information, age, gender, etc., marital status, etc. You want to mention a little bit of the key findings. The key finding here, table 1, here. Study 1. Altogether, they have over 1,500 participants. Most of them are women. 1391. Most of them are men. Women are in the minority. You want to mention the numbers of men and women self-identified in the questionnaire. And that's sufficient description of the sample. You don't have to talk about the education, the gender effects. The key finding is the comparison. The key findings you need to report for the overview section of the writing assignment is the SL90. The SL90, the comparison between the sample of expatriates and the national sample of China is the key finding. The means of male-female expatriate samples were higher than the national norm on two indices, GSI and Global Symptom Index and Positive Symptoms Total. That means that the expatriate sample, both male and female expatriates, they have a higher Global Symptom Index. Their overall scores on the 90 items were higher than the average of the national norm. And they have larger numbers of positive symptoms than the national norm. They have a more serious, overall they have a more serious and a larger number of symptoms than the national average. After writing about the Lee et al. Paper, it is natural to lead into the overview of the current study. The current study may be considered a continuation of the Lee et al. 1915 study. We took part of the data from study 1 of Lee et al. 2015, did a more detailed analysis, did a more in-depth analysis. here you want to explain the rationale of the current study. In the current study, the sample not only completed symptom checklist 90, like all the participants in study 1 of Lee et al., they also completed another survey, another questionnaire, health risk behavior screening scale. In this questionnaire, they reported if they had ever had suicide attempts. And they also reported whether they have had intense interpersonal conflicts in the last 2 days. The rationale of the study was to investigate whether people who have had suicide attempts and people who have reported intense interpersonal conflicts show different symptoms. Do they have a different symptom profiles on the SCL90? Can we use SCL90 as a screening tool for identifying people who have suicide risk and people who have risk for interpersonal conflict? In the intro section, when you're doing the overview of the current study, you want to provide a prediction. Yeah, the prediction is that we predict that the 2 groups of risky people who are at different risk will show different symptom profiles. You also want to give people a preview of the key findings. The data analysis did find that people who have reported suicide attempts, their top 10 symptom list mostly relate to intrapersonal distress, or, well, you can characterize the symptoms as distress directed to the self or hostility directed to the self. On the other hand, those people who report having interpersonal conflict, their top 10 symptoms mostly consist of other-directed or interpersonal hostility